it's supposed to feel. How it's supposed to
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel for another episode of our Madden 23 expansion draft-only franchise with the Brooklyn Bulls. We are here for Offseason 3, and prior to recording the live reaction to the offseason I typically do, I wanted to do a voice-over summary of my thoughts on the upcoming draft, hoping that doing it this way will make my thoughts more concise and perhaps cut the length of the episode some, as I tend to ramble when trying to convey my thoughts in real time. Especially for this offseason, where my thoughts over the last few days of how I want to attack this draft have shifted dramatically. When talking about the year 2 Brooklyn Bulls, ending the year 5-12 for the second straight year was certainly a disappointment. I thought we had a really good second draft that put a ton of good pieces in place, particularly defensively, but that didn't end up translating to increased success in year 2, and our defense remained one of the very worst in the league, rating bottom 5 in a lot of categories and bottom 10 in most. Naturally, you think that the reaction to that would be to draft more defensive players to make the unit better for year 3, and I did a ton of research with that plan in mind. Given the fact that our first pick was likely to be used on a quarterback, that left us with 2 second-round picks, a third, and 2 fourth-round picks to find a few impactful defenders. Initially, I had found some players I liked in those areas to potentially pick up during the draft. However, as I prepared for the stats and highlights episode for season 2 that I released yesterday, I had a change of heart in how I view a lot of the players on this team. That in turn made a big impact on how I view my priorities heading into the draft. A couple of team building examples came to mind to illustrate my new thought process for this team, the first of which being the San Antonio Express. After year 2 of that franchise, I attacked the draft in year 3, knowing that we had some great key contributors, but we had a few gaping holes in the roster that I just needed, maybe 5 or 6 really solid players that would allow our stars to shine. When reflecting on the state of this Brooklyn Bulls team, I think we are in a very different spot. Looking at the offense, I think we have one obviously great difference maker in Deacon Burgess. No real explanation needed for him. He's incredible. I also think center Ramirez, while having a ways to go as a pass protector, maybe made some special plays in the run game. Johnny Lovelock, I think, can be a difference maker in the slot only. We asked him in year 2 to be our second receiver at times and make plays downfield, and I thought he struggles when we ask him to do those things. So in a certain role, maybe a difference maker, just not the role that we have him in now. Players like Bowman and Grimes, I ended up feeling lower on them than I had entering the season, now questioning, honestly, if either will even merit a second contract with the team. I think the team needs more difference makers on offense, not, average players to fill some holes. Flipping now to defense, I feel the same way. We got 3 huge development trait upgrades to some of our best players. I said this at the end of the highlights episode, but I really feel like it puts our defense in a spot where our 4 best players are not adequately represented with the devs they deserve. However, apart from those 4 players, I think we are solid at best everywhere else. And while I believe in the long-term potential of players like Cole Byers and John Atkinson, they're not quite difference makers yet. That being said, we don't have any glaring weaknesses on either side of the ball. Our lowest rated starter, as it sits now, is Kendrick Ingram, who is a 72 overall linebacker with 90 speed, 87 tackle, and 73 in both zone coverage, and block shed. That's our worst starter? How confident are we that a second or third round pick will actually be better than that? Another example would be an interior defensive line prospect, one of, I think, our biggest needs on the team. A few days ago, I was really excited to take a player like Sidney Watkins in the second round. A player with elite speed, solid strength, and potential A finesse moves. Sign me up. However, I have seen this build many times in Madden 23, and they typically end up being, somewhere between a 71 and a 73 overall. Normal or star development. That's not 100% of the time, but typically they come in somewhere around 80 speed, low to mid 80s acceleration, high 70s in finesse move. How much better is that than Benjamin Gore, who has 79 speed, 83 excel, 81 power moves at a 72 overall? Or how much better is it than Jermaine Bryant with 92 strength, 77 block shed, and 75 power moves? Now, obviously, while the youth and potential hidden dev could make a rookie a better long-term fit, of course, how big of a difference would they be making over the next 2 years when I think the team needs to start getting better? I don't believe we can be in top 5 pick contention for the third year in a row next draft. So while our current draft assets put us in good position to get 5 or 6 solid starters potentially in rounds 1 through 4, where we have several picks ranging in that 71 to 74 overall range, likely star dev, I don't know how beneficial that is to this current team. I think instead we should be targeting 2 to 3 spots to fill with high-end draft picks that will be improvements from day one. So I took another look at this class, heavily emphasizing players that I thought would be rated at 75 plus overall and would almost certainly come with hidden dev, higher chance at superstar, and maybe even X Factor. I ended up adding 4 new players to the board and removing 10 others that I knew I just wasn't going to draft. All those players that I removed are still available in the draft board Google Doc for anyone who wants to see, everyone that I consider drafting at some point in the draft process. Our draft board now consists of only 22 players, Let's go over the players at the top who I am confident will be 75 plus overall, those day one impact starters I was talking about. That consists of 6 players, 5 of whom are projected to go top 10 in this class. Let's start here with Owen Clemens, who is my favorite defensive player in this class, with elite athleticism and A finesse moves and B block shedding. The only thing that's keeping him from being an elite prospect to me are his potential injury proneness as well as stamina, and the fact that edge is the one position group on this entire team where I feel like we already have multiple difference makers in Rakeem McKinney and in Kayvon Richardson. Drafting Clemens could still be effective were we to move Rakeem McKinney inside full time, where he plays some of the time currently. While I think McKinley can succeed inside full time, one of my favorite things about him is his inside out versatility. So I don't know if I want to draft a player that takes away from the player that we already have in McKinney. For interior defensive line, we have Carlos Weeks. Looking here at his athleticism, nothing is elite, but everything is really good. And the same can be said for his skill set. Not a lot of A's, but doesn't really have any weaknesses. Of course, other than stamina and injury, which are really bad. Given that he's being drafted top 5 range according to his projection, I don't know if I can commit to drafting a player who may be off the field a bunch and that doesn't have a bunch of A grades that highly. The last of the defenders is Carlos Allen, a new addition to the draft board. He is a corner that is going in the top 10, but based on his athleticism and where our team needs are, I'm actually very interested in him at safety. I'd like to see where that awareness, block shed, and zone coverage end up, so he will likely be a focus player for me. But the only thing that would keep me from drafting him is whether or not I believe safety to be an impactful enough position to trade away all the assets that it would take to get back into a second top 10 pick. And I don't think I do. What that means is that the impact's defensive player options are just not great in this draft. Earlier, I mentioned 2 different team building strategies I have considered when preparing for this draft, the second of which comes into play now, and that is the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles in real life. The Eagles brought in A.J. Brown on offense this year, creating an offense for Philly that was so consistently good. I think it had people believing that the defense was much better than it was. I was always a skeptic of the Philly defense this year, but The offense was so good at keeping time of possession, limiting turnovers, taking leads, that the defensive played in consistently favorable positions. While, the defensive additions also certainly helped them, I think a much improved offense was just as key to improving the Eagles' defense this year. So maybe the best way to improve our Brooklyn Bull defense next year is to improve our offense instead. We've already gone over the quarterback position in season, but we definitely need to touch on it here, as if there's one thing I'm sure of, we will be drafting quarterback this off season. The number one guy is Quincy Miles. Quincy Miles is a guy who we know was a top 5 talent in this class. He's a guy who has some pronounced strengths along with a howitzer arm. A under pressure, short and medium accuracy, and play action give us a really good start. Throw on the run and deep accuracy need work, but both get upgraded quickly with the improviser archetype, and we could be, maybe one season away from looking at a pretty complete quarterback. Traits are also important with quarterback and not something I've gone over yet with this player. He has a fast throwing motion, ideal sense of pressure, and aggressive throwing passes. I really like where he is at there. While not one of the 6 players I'm confident is a year 1 game changer, Jared Polite is worth a mention. His arm isn't quite at the same level, but athletically he is very similar to Quincy Miles. He also has a ton of A's and B's for his ratings. His traits are just as good as Quincy's as well, with ideal sense of pressure, ideal forcing passes, and a fast motion. I think he would be an excellent Plan B pick for us. That would be available later in the draft than Miles should we not be able to draft Quincy. Another guy we've already previewed is Elliott Banks, an offensive tackle who went to the same college as Quincy Miles and is an incredible athlete. While he doesn't have a ton of A's in his blocking ratings, he has great impact in lead block, and a truly elite athlete at offensive line always has potential to make an incredible impact on the run game. The 6th guy that I believe is a day 1 game changer is Raymond Coleman, the receiver from Stanford. Originally not on my board because I couldn't see myself taking wide receiver so highly, as he is the number 1 player in the draft, until I made that highlights episode. At 6'4" and 235 pounds, his size is obviously elite. His athleticism also top tier. Looking at his skills, he's not well-rounded enough, I think, to be a generational player like Burgess, but I think he has enough to still be a really high overall player. Prototypical physical wide receiver here who just maybe needs to have some deep threat upgrades dumped onto him to be a special player. I've honestly kind of started falling in love with the idea of pairing Coleman and Miles in this draft, but doing so could potentially cost more assets than we have, as both are currently top 5 players in the class. To finish off the preview portion of this episode, I added a couple more potential mid-round selections at the offensive skill position should my plan A not work out for this year. Andrew Keys is a round 2 to 3 back who has great for almost every single thing in his athleticism profile. In terms of skill though, nothing really to stand out to make him an early impact player. He's going to need development in terms of making people miss. Tight end Dan Steinbach is a player who has great speed, though the 4.69 40 makes me think it will come really close within Bowman, probably just within a point. What puts him on the board is that the combine is that he combines his speed with potential A run block. Like I said with Bowman in the highlights episode, if you're not an elite receiving tight end, you better be a good blocker. Steinbach could be a focus player just to see exactly where that run blocking comes out. That does it for the preview portion of this episode. Let's get into how things will shake out with offseason 3 of the Brooklyn Bulls. And here we are, ready to make the moves that I have been talking about, see where the players that I've been talking about go. Ready to get through this offseason. We are at the free agency recap screen. Simulated up to this point, didn't do any re-signs, and I kind of previewed my favorite players in the class through the little preview. I hope that you guys liked me kind of previewing the draft and my thoughts on it that way. I just feel like with more of a voiceover review, I could follow a script, and thus my thoughts are a lot more succinct. I tend to kind of just ramble on and repeat myself sometimes or miss some things I want to say. If I leave all of my thoughts for saying them in the moment. Still pretty new at this whole YouTube thing, and before this I really had no experience in like long monologues, because I think Marcus Peters was the only free agency acquisition, even though he was already a Raven, in this free agency class. So I think that's just a good way to preview the draft, especially because I knew I had a lot of thoughts going into this draft, and I knew I wasn't going to adequately say everything I wanted to say if I left it all to saying it over the recording. So now I'm just kind of ready to get into it. I will say my plan A right now, as we look at mock draft 5, is Quincy Miles, Ray Coleman, the receiver, and Elliott Banks. I know we need to get better defensively, and the best way to get better defensively would seem to be draft defense. This is just not the class. Like, the guys that I like at the top all have their flaws. I mean, it has us taking Owen Clemens here, Carlos Weeks, and Carlos Allen. Those are all guys that I think are good prospects. I just think they all have pretty decent reasons as to why I wouldn't draft them. Can we get up to the Raymond Coleman pick first? That's going to be the big... We need to trade up to number 2 overall. It looks like we can take Quincy Miles at 4. We need to trade into the number 2 pick without trading number 4. Excuse me. Is it possible? Is it possible to do that and still have the ammo? As we look down here, he's around 25. At 27, Elliott Banks. Do we have the capability of getting all 3? I think it's going to be tough. Particularly because I made a decision at some point in this season. I was going to make this franchise a franchise where I do not trade players. If we're moving on for quarterback, we could have easily gotten a good pick for Eli Palmer. I think we could have gotten a good pick for Spencer Cheeks. Maybe get a pick for Holloman. Like, these guys could have gotten us more picks. And the reason I decided not to include player trades in this franchise this time around, I think it made Express a little bit too easy. That transition we had from year 3 to 4 was largely because I traded away players so that we could have an incredible draft in year 4. And I feel like if we did that now, it'd be very similar to that year 4 draft in the Express, because we went from like barely missing the playoffs to by the end in year 3 to by the end of year 4, we were the best team in the league. It was a massive jump, made possible and made easy, I would say, by the fact that I just traded players for way more than they were probably worth because of the coaching tree upgrades that basically make players be worth a lot. So doesn't look like we're going to have much improvement to our defense this offseason, which you don't love to see from a defense that was just, quite frankly, not very good last year, outside of a few good performers. I just don't know if I want to push a selection just because it's what I want. I would rather take the best players in the class. So we have a few players that I already selected my focus players. I kind of talked about it a little bit in the preview portion of this video, where Carlos Allen and Steinbach, the tight end, were a couple of those players. So the third one, I ended up doing the defensive tackle Weeks. I wanted to see what his true talent was, because then maybe he could tempt me to go another way. He is a round 1 talent. So to me, I think I'm right there that he's probably like 75 overall, somewhere around there. Elliott Banks, we know is a round 1 talent. That's awesome. And then, oh wait, no, did I not put it on? That means I didn't put it on the right player. Oh, I was choosing between Elliott Banks and Carlos Weeks, and I instead did both of them and not Carlos Allen, because I did Steinbach. I know it's run block. We didn't get run block That's annoying. That's annoying. He looks really good, though, apart from the fact that he has terrible injury. But now is as good a time as ever, I suppose, to mention the draft big board for anyone new to the channel. In the link of in the description, I should say, of every video I do, is the link to the draft big board Google Doc, where I give viewing access so that you, at any point during the season, mid-season when I'm creating it, end of season where I ended up with the prospects, whatever you want, you can see the big board. You can even see previous year big boards if you so desire. So if you're interested, Google Doc, I think it's presented fairly nicely, easy on the eyes, you could say. Visit the link in the description of this video. So let's go through game plan, because I think we need multiple, because my plan A right now requires a bit of trading. Plan A, Quincy Miles, Raymond Coleman, and Elliott Banks. And then I do still want one later pick. I want to just take a shot on Jelani Graves. I've seen players that have ratings very similar to him before have like hit power in the 90s. If I could get that guy and move him to middle linebacker, I think it could be a really fun pick. They usually aren't like very high overall, but could be a fun player to add. I also think adding a tight end, if it's not Steinbach, could be fun. I picked a couple guys that look like they could be good blockers here in O'Neal and Hepner. So those are like maybe 6th round picks, these guys down here. So we take a look at our picks. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm going to try to pull off. Let's take a look at our picks. Before we stay at, we're gonna need to trade up to like 25, somewhere around there, to get Elliott Banks. And we're also gonna try to trade to number 2. The key asset that's gonna work in using this is next year's first round pick. I decided that I am committed to trying to make this team better than it has been in year 3. I want to see improvement, because there wasn't one from year 1 to year 2, which is crazy. It seems like year 1 to year 2 should be one of the biggest jumps we have, and we didn't see it. So I want to see it in year 3. Giving away next year's first when we're picking 4 and we didn't sign like any crazy free agents because we can't, is a really risky move. But I think I'm willing to do it. So let's go in. I want to try to make some of these trades prior to the draft. First thing I want to do is I want to see just how little I can get away with sending to get up to like the 24, 25 range for Elliott Banks. And I already know the team with the number 24 pick is the New York Giants. So let's go ahead and take a look at said Giants. Pick 24. I want to see if we can do it without giving away 36. I want to try 52 and 68, just see how close those two. That's all that it took. I thought I was going to need another pick. Okay. Good to know, good to know. So 52 and 68 gets us up to 24. Good to know, good to know, good to know. Now, what is it going to take to get to number 2, to the Houston Texans pick? Next year's 1 and 100. Is that enough? Is pick 100 with next year's pick 3 enough to get to number 2? It is. Wow, it is so easy to make trades in this game, man. So easy to make trades in this game. I may not be willing to move players for picks because I think it makes it a little bit too easy, but I will do my darndest to squeeze every little bit of value I can from trading draft picks. That's why I'm fine to not have realistic trades like this, but then not trade my players. because trading picks for picks is so easy that I feel like just trading the players on top of it, just like we could, I don't know, end up with like 6 first-round picks. I feel like if we wanted to, if we really game the system. But our game plan is coming together, and it has been easier than I thought. I don't want to look at Trade Center. I want to look at where our picks now line up. Things are looking good. It's unfortunate that we're in a spot. So we still have pick 36. I thought maybe I was expecting to not have this 4th round pick. And I thought maybe we'd have to sacrifice this 36 pick. What we could do now, we could use pick 236 and get back into the 1st round pick next year from somebody who isn't our own. And we have a 4th round pick. We could use this for, say, Jelani Graves. Draft some UDFA players right here. And call it a draft. That was easier than I thought. I thought we were going to have to give away some serious cheddar for 2 and 24. Obviously, our 1st round pick next year could end up being some serious cheddar, obviously. All right. With that being said, I think we are ready for the draft. So let's hop into it. I'm going to be so mad if, let's look at mock draft 5 again. Is it the Lions number 1? I'm going to be so mad if the Lions go Quincy Miles or Raymond Coleman. If they go one of those 2 players, oh, there will be rage. There will be rage. What was interesting is in mock draft 4, Quincy Miles, you see, rose 17 spots. I thought it was going to be even easier. Quincy Miles went number 22 in mock draft 4. I was shocked. But like in mock draft 3, he went 6, and then in mock draft 5, he went 5. So I knew we were going to have to take him with number 4. For a second, I thought we were going to be able to get away with like trading up from 4 to 2, and then from like 36 to 24, trade almost nothing, trade like 2 4th round picks to do it, and not be out our 1st round pick next year. But unfortunately, we are out our 1st round pick next year as it stands. Can we trade for a 1st round pick back? I think it should be relatively easy. Let's hop into this draft. Welcome into the 2025 NFL Draft. The Lions will start us off. Rumor has it they prefer quarterback Alex Jones, the only 1st round quarterback that I didn't even have on my board. Did not see him as a 1st round quality quarterback. Does he go number 1 overall? Yes, he does. Out of Ball State, Alex Jones. Not my favorite pick, but I am thankful to the Rams that they made it. And thus starts the reign of Brooklyn Bull terror on this draft class, starting here with wide receiver Raymond Coleman. Massive dude at 6'4", 235. Was not on the Bulls' radar until late in the process. But sometimes you just have to take the best players in the class. And I am confident Raymond Coleman will be one of those players. I'm going to probably call him Ray Coleman for the purpose of this channel moving forward. But Ray Coleman, welcome to the Bulls. He is hidden dev, 93 speed at that size is excellent. 93 jumping as well, 92 acceleration. Don't think he's a generational level receiver, but I think he's a dang talented one. And I am very happy to add him to the squad and form what should be a very powerful wide receiver trio. Now, let's just hope the Cardinals don't go off script and take away the quarterback that we want to pair with our new stud receiver. They go tackle Cody Kyle, still presumably building around Kyler Murray, as you might suspect. But that leaves QB1 on the board, guaranteed top 5 talent out of Penn State. Quincy Miles, the quarterback. Massive, massive arm. Decently mobile at 4'6", 40. Not a perfect prospect by any means, but certainly a lot of ace in very important areas that you like to see. Great size. Has the traits to be an elite quarterback. They think he's going to the Falcons. No. Welcome, Quincy Miles, to the Brooklyn Bulls. 96 throw power. The dude has a cannon. Very hard to upgrade throw power from a guy like, I already forgot his name, Eli Palmer. We managed to do it. His speed is the same as Palmer's acceleration, and his acceleration is the same as Palmer's speed. So there's that, but really, really excited to start a new era of Brooklyn Bulls football with Quincy Miles at the helm. Let's start going through this draft, see where some of our other favorite players go. Carlos Allen goes at 5. I'd be interested to see where his zone coverage ends up. We messed up. It's still he still would have been our plan B at most, but I think of the defenders, the 3 defenders that we highlighted in pre-draft, he was the one that would have been my favorite defender to go for had we not been able to acquire Coleman and Miles. Doug Wayne was somebody that was not on our board. Carlos Weeks goes to the Bills. We know he is, a top 20 talent in this class. Getting him at 7. Really good athlete. Has some skills, I think, to be an early impact player for Buffalo. And, going to a team that, has the tools to be an AFC contender. You don't love to see it. Owen Clemens goes in division to the Browns. That could potentially be quite rough for us. I think he is the best defensive player in this class. So the fact that we get to face off against him twice a year, could he be a guy that haunts our dreams for years to come out of Cleveland? Bryce Kramer, the Falcons, go tackle. Clay Harding was a guy who actually, when I went back and got through the draft, I thought he was really good. Like, his ratings looked really good to be an immediate impact deep threat. He just didn't quite have the speed to match. He had solid to good speed. I never end up checking his combine to see whether that ended up being solid or good. But I think that's a really solid pick there for the Broncos. Making some good picks, hopefully giving, their young quarterback Henderson a good target. Continuing now through the draft, Vince Borden is a good run-stuffing middle linebacker. Just wasn't quite the athlete that I prefer from first-round linebackers, not first-down linebackers. He is a first-down linebacker. He's going to hit you in the run game. Vernon Pollard, very intriguing player going to the Raiders. Felt like he had maybe some hybrid on-ball, off-ball, outside linebacker possibilities. Cam Friedman goes to the Rams. They have been consistently mocked quarterback. Friedman was my quarterback 3, I believe, on the board this year, so I think the Rams got a good one. Not maybe quite as good as Jared Polite, though. Elliott Banks goes a pick before us. Oh my goodness. The only athletic offensive lineman that Madden has generated in 3 drafts. He was going at 27. Mock draft 3, 4, and 5. Goes 24 here. There's no way to trade for him immediately, is there? I cannot believe man screwed us over like that. What? They have Jawan Taylor, bro. Oh my gosh. Oh. The pick is sniped one pick before ours. But he's even our backup plan. He was the last of the guys that we circled as being maybe immediate impact players. Let's take a look at Marcus Burns here. Really good looking linebacker. Oh my goodness. Could I like trade this for 2 future picks and then trade those 2 future picks for Elliott Banks after the draft? Would that count as draft only? Oh my goodness. Another defensive player we have in this range is Cordell McCrary. 6'6", 320, 21 years old. That upsets me, man. That upsets me. We did everything right, and then Madden just snipes us. Should have traded up a couple picks more, obviously. Should I be able to trade this for future picks and then trade future picks for Elliott Banks? I don't think so. As much as I wanted Elliott Banks, and I wanted Elliott Banks. I think we pivot now. I think a guy like Dan Steinbach enters the equation a little bit later. I think we trade down here. I'm just trying to talk things out. This is just shooting off the cuff here, right? Great speed, elite jumping, elite change of direction. I think Steinbach could be a really good tight end. I think we could trade down both here and from 36 and still get him, though. And then our receiving weapons would just look insane, right? Andrew Keys enters the discussion as finally getting a running back with some breakaway speed. Or do we actually go and get a Sidney Watkins? I know I didn't like talk trash on him. I said he's a good pick. Just how much is he a short-term upgrade for us? Maybe we go select a guy like Sidney Watkins. I think that's how we're going to pivot. We're going to try to pick up. We're gonna trade back from 2024. I want a first rounder next year is the number one thing I want. This pick is very interesting to me from the Bills because they're under the impression that they're going to be good next year, but they had a high pick this year. I did like their pick though, and they have Josh Allen. Can you really, bank on them being bad? But so far, it's looking like the best one. Not the Ravens. They keep kicking butt in this franchise. Packers will give us a 1 and a 2 next year. Where's their pick this year, though? Do we remember the Packers picking? That's the 6th pick in the 5th round. So another team that had a really high pick this year. I thought I remembered them towards the top of the draft. I just couldn't remember for sure. Also cross-conference here. I don't think we're going to get a better pick than that. We get a 1st and a 2nd next year from the Packers. I feel like that's a sweet deal because then we go from having negative draft capital next year all of a sudden to having really good draft capital next year. Obviously, depending on how the Packers do, but that will be a fun team to monitor. They have a lot of cap space, which maybe means they're not that good because they're not paying that many people. We were going to accept this Green Bay offer. And now that gives us maybe the latitude to do a little bit more trading here. Because I want to... Man, what a snipe. But the Packers Go up and get a quarterback that I really liked. Oh, they might be good next year now. Oh my goodness. The draft was going perfectly until pick 24. Ah. F's in the chat for your boy, man. Thought he had the perfect game plan for this draft. Thought everything was going perfect. The Colts get sniped for Jared Polite, who was in the mock draft 5. I liked the matching between the Colts and Jared Polite, but I'm also not mad that Jared Polite is not in our conference. There are enough good quarterbacks in the AFC. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is, I liked Braylon Young a decent bit. We'll take a look at him post-draft. Your boy is reeling right now. I got to be honest with you. What if the the Packers did have the 6th pick. This right there. So that's good. I feel like they're going to be good with Jared Polite, though. I think. Let's see how far down the board. Ray Fusco is the guy who was initially on my board, that one that I took off. D injury and D stamina. Otherwise, he looks really good. We don't really know a lot about him, though. He's a lot of A's to C's. If those are all A's, he looks really good. If they're not, what makes me hopeful about him is B, pass block power, and C, run block finesse, though. That's a pass block rating. That's a run block rating. That's a power rating. That's a finesse rating. You know what I mean? Both of his finesses are C, and he's a power guy. Could we do a pivot? No. I think we just give Bowen another shot. He allowed 0 sacks last year. Let's give him a shot to go out and do it again, you know? What about Steve Rice? Could he play safety for us? B tackle, B to D block shed, A press, A to C zone. I doubt it's going to be A zone this late into the draft, though. Chat, we don't need anymore. I liked him. So Keys is the next up, 27 picks down the board. Watkins is 30 picks down the board. Steinbach is 37 picks down the board. So we can go comfortably down to pick. This is pick 36. We can go into the 50s, I think. The low 50s. Let's see what kind of pick. So if we go 50, we can get a next year 3. At this point, I'd rather get 2 picks in this draft, if we can help it. We can get a 4th this year, and a 7 to go to 47. We can get a 3rd. Okay, I like this one from the Raiders. To 53, so that's 17 spots away. All our guys are about 30 spots away, 27. 17 spots down. Pick up a 3rd this year that we can use to get back up and get 2 of our ramp 2 to 3 guys. I like it. And you know, in terms of like a last second pivot, I like it. Let's see if anybody else gets sniped from us. Ray Fusco goes. I want to see him just to see the opportunity cost of not selecting him, even though he wasn't part of our plan, but it definitely could have been a good pivot plan for us. Now 10 spots out. Get a tight end going, but it's not Steinbach. Oh man, if somebody went with the pick before us again, I was going to positively flip. Well, I talked about maybe not drafting anybody on defense, but I think of these guys, Sidney Watkins is going to be the pick here. I don't know how much of an upgrade he will be this year. I don't even know if he will be one, especially if he ends up with normal dev here. We've had insane luck on not getting normal dev in this expansion draft only franchise, and the 2 of them in the first 2 rounds. Hopefully it can continue here with Sidney Watkins. Hidden development, 88 strength, 80 speed, 84 acceleration. I think is a really good starting point for our boy Sydney. Hopefully he ends up with those A finesse moves, can come in and be an impact defensive lineman for us year one. That's the hope this pick. And then obviously, hopefully he has the upside to eventually be much better than guys like Gore and Bryant, who were solid for us last year, but we definitely could use an improvement there. Now I want to talk to the Rams. I want to see if something like this is enough to entice the Rams. Not quite enough. $85 and 123. Is that enough for 54? No, not close. What about our next year? Four. What about this? This year 5 and next year 5. Oh. I think if we go down a couple spots, that would be accepted. I want to see how far down the board Steinbach is. I would have Steinbach over Keys. That's not going to help. I need to see it from here. Steinbach's 19, so we can't really go down that far. Keys is higher than that, right? Yeah, he's only 10 spots away. I think it'll work with next year's 4. I don't love the idea of trading next year's 4, but I do not want to miss out on Steinbach. We've missed out on our first priority. Let's not miss out on our second here. If we can't get plan A, let's make sure we get plan B. So we're playing hardball, huh? That will be accepted. A 3, a 4 next year, and a 5. Get here in the back end of round 2. Where we will select Dan Steinbach. He is normal development. The streak of hidden dev in the first 2 rounds of expansion draft only franchise has come to an end. Took what? 8 drafts to do it. First time in 8 drafts. I'm confident he's going to be a good player though, despite the normal dev. And what I'm most excited about is he's going to be an improvement at run blocking, either A or B. I think Bowman was like a C or D. So we get a better run blocker, slightly faster. Not very much though, and still a really good receiver. B short route, A medium, A spec catch, A deep route, A catching. Good receiver, good dual threat tight end. Little maybe light, but I think he will be an improvement over Bowman. At this point, we're just going to simulate to round 4, pick 27. If a UDFA player goes before that, there's nothing I can do about it. But I think that's picking decently high for a UDFA player. So draft's kind of going a little slow here, but is Jelani Graves here? He's kind of the last guy that I really wanted to target in this draft. He is here. Again, the reason I like him is for the potential to move to linebacker. You're talking about 4.6, 4.55 speed. That's really good for linebacker. These ratings, you might say he's a little bit light, but we had a linebacker in Express who thrived at that exact same height and weight. So I think Jelani Graves is a solid swing to take here in the 4th. Let's take him here. Hey, we got hidden developments here in the 4th round. 86 speed, 85 jumping. Like, particularly if you move a safety to linebacker, 85 jumping, you don't get in linebacker very often. 86 change of direction, you do not get in linebacker very often. The linebackers that Madden generates. So really big gets there. 71 strength is actually between Banks, Ingram, and Graves. Graves actually has the highest strength as well. So I think this is a good pick. I am very, very excited to see what that hit power is, because I think it might be higher than like the 85 that you typically get when you get like an A. Simulate up to the 6th round now. I'd like to trade this away for a 5th next year. We'll do the Bills. We know they had a high pick this year. I don't have a lot of guys left on my board, but we can just get some depth here. I think Hepner could be solid. I'm drafting another tight end. He's nothing special, but he could be a good run blocker. Just getting a tight end on a 4-year contract seems good. William Atkins as an offensive lineman. You know what? Let's go William Atkins at offensive line here. I like that pick. Draft clock expired. Yeah, I know. Decent athlete. You're getting him in the 6th. I think he'll be a good long-term depth piece. That's all you can really ask for here in the 6th round. Should have at least one of those 2 players hopefully left on the board here. Both of them are. Let's see Roberson. I'm going to go to the tight end. Hunter Hepner. It's going to be our set. Oh, we got hidden dev! You gotta be kidding me! 6'6", 251, hidden dev in the 7th round, Hunter Hepner. Let's go, baby. All right. So ruined the hidden dev streak on a tight end in the 2nd round. Ended up drafting hidden dev in the 7th. He's probably a really low overall, but hidden dev is always exciting. Oh man, I will edit these players, faces and gear and stuff. And we'll see you when that is done. All right, we have these players, numbers and faces and gear edited, and let's get into this class. I think you guys might like this one. Starting off with Ray Coleman, comes in at 77 overall, physical. Gonna wear the number 13 for us. Really good player, already playing up to 88 catch traffic, 84 catching. Spec catch is gonna come up because his morale is gonna reset and all that. Obviously needs some work as a route runner, but I think is going to be a very good player for us. Already up to 90 release as well is pretty sick for him. Quincy Miles comes in at 78 overall, tied with strong arm and field general for his best. But I mean, 86 short accuracy off the rip is really nice. 84 medium is nice too. We can just get some improviser upgrades like I've been talking about. Pump up that deep accuracy, pump up that throw on the run. Need some throw under pressure too. So like strong arm and improviser, those are going to be probably what we're pumping through him here. At least in year 1, if not basically for the majority of his career. Low injury, there is some risk there, but I honestly don't know if quarterbacks even get injured in Madden 23. So he's somebody that we were going to be setting as our instant captain. Will lead the boys here in season 3. Sidney Watkins was a 73 overall defensive tackle, dropped an overall once we moved into right end where he will play in this system. When I told you what it was going to be. He's going to be somewhere around 80 speed, mid 80s acceleration, high 70s finesse moves. That's ended up being what he is, and so even though I like technically poo-pooed on the pick in my little preview, saying that how much is he going to be an immediate upgrade, still like the pick. It was an unfortunate thing that I had to single him out in the preview while talking about my new strategy, but he ends up with the squad. Dan Steinbeck, normal dev, obviously unfortunate, but he comes in at 77 overall off rip. Really good catching. Like, what is he worse at than our boy freaking Bowman? He's a little bit less of a route runner, but that could be fixed probably within a year. Catching traffic. Other than that, like, I really like this pick. So as much as I wanted Elliott Banks, I think the fact that we were able to kind of come up with these two players instead, I'm happy with the compromise. Jelani Graves. I previewed him. Said he might have a little bit high hit power, didn't I? 99 hit power. He's a 71 overall safety. I'm going to move him to middle linebacker here just to see how much he drops. But this is exactly the player that I was hoping we were getting when we were going to take a 4th round flyer on him. Got to put that mean mug on him. You know, he's out here hitting people. Drops all the way down to 66. I still think he starts over Ingram though. Ingram's faster, has better tackling and all that, but I think Jelani Graves, if we put him in the focus slot, give him a mentor, and start him, he's gonna fly up in terms of how well he will, you know, upgrade. Really, awareness I think is pulling that down a decent bit. So 99 hit power, easily the hardest hitter we've ever had on this channel. Very excited. Willie Mackin, 65 overall normal. Don't really need to preview him. Hepner ends up being 66 hidden. Not really good enough run blocker. I mean, he's going to be our tight end 3. I could say that about him, but that's about all I can say for him. So let's switch gears now and talk about the NFL and some of the players that we decided to miss out on. Alex Jones was picked over Quincy Miles in this draft. Oh, that hurts by the Lions. 72 overall normal development. Short accuracy and deep are in pretty good, decent spots. Doesn't really work well with the intermediate. I still think, you know, despite the normal dev, if he can get some medium accuracy upgrades, he's not going to be a bad long-term pick, but I think he will end up being the worst of the linemen. Carlos Allen ended up being a 77 overall zone corner with 80 zone coverage, so that was A. Top of this draft was impressive, I think. And I'm glad that I ended up shifting towards really focusing the top of this draft instead of making the picks where I had them. That would have been a really good safety, I think. Tackle's a little low. Hit power's low for safety, but I think he could have converted to tackle for us pretty well. Carlos Week. Oh, I should check these guys' development. We'll do Carlos Weeks here. 78 power moves off rip, 76 speed, 80 acceleration, 93 strength, 76 overall. Injury ended up being, it looked like that would have been D, not F, so that was good for him. But Superstar X Factor. This is the player that I wanted. I wanted the difference-making interior defensive lineman. I wanted that, honestly, more than anything other than quarterback this year. I just didn't think it existed in this class. But week 76 overall X Factor, that's exactly what we wanted. Just got to remember, he's injury prone. He would have played like 10 games a year for you. Get over it. Okay, fine. We're moving on. I also have to check Carlos Allen here. Dude, if he had superstar traits too. Okay, star. Honestly, I would have drafted Allen over Weeks, over Clemens, who will preview here. I was right. All of them ended up being at least 75 overall. So far, I'm hitting 100% on like the 6 players I thought would be 75 plus in this draft. '81 finesse moves off rip, 81 strength, 86 speed, 91 acceleration. If we needed an edge, I would have drafted this player. Ooh, 78 injury, 82 stamina though. That is rough. Another guy, if he has superstar abilities, oh my gosh, he does. Oh, okay. Okay. Another guy. He's never going to be on the field because he's either going to be tired or injured. Out of my mind. It's fine. It's fine. We roll with the punches. Didn't need an edge anyway. I want to see this receiver that the Broncos drafted, Clay Harding, because I think he was pretty good. It's being a 74 normal. 92 speed's honestly a little bit better than I thought he was going to be. I think he'll develop into a nice player for the Broncos. Liked him as a run stopper, just wasn't quite as athletic as I needed. Hidden dev for him to the Jets. We all know the guy I really want to check out, though. Number 24 in the draft. Number 23 in the draft. I do also want to check out number 24, but Elliott Banks. Hidden dev, 75 overall. So I was 6 for 6. Oh. The athleticism. I wanted an athletic offensive lineman so bad. 92 injury, 92 stamina. So mad he got sniped. He's superstar dev. I will positively cry. Okay. Still an incredible pick at offensive line for the Jaguars, but at least we trade the 2 Packers picks that we got to get him. I don't think we do. If you guys think that it should be allowed, we got an extra first and a second from the Packers. I would be willing to trade both of them for Elliott Banks. You guys think we should do that? Because that's what we got for the 24th overall pick, which I was going to spend on Banks. If you think we should do that, put it in the comments, and I'll offer it. I really wanted Elliott Banks. Jared Polite, I thought was the second best quarterback in this class. Comes in at 74 overall, 92 throw power, short accuracy in a good spot, and medium and deeper in decent spots. 85 throw on the runs, nice. 84 break sack. He's looking like a really nice quarterback for the Packers. Start it. So let's see, there were 2 players with abilities in the top 10 that we saw. I'd say I've done a lot of research, and I'd say you usually average 3. So is that good news for one of our players? Another guy I wanted to check on was Ray Fusco. 71 overall, okay. Normal. Oh. Money that we ended up trading down instead of taking this player. Oh, that would have been a terrible pick. 71 normal. I don't even care about what his blocking ratings are. That's a terrible pick that early in the draft. At this point, let's see some of the highest players that we haven't already covered. Oh my 3 players and the guy that was my plan B, all right there. Parrish was also a good tight end. That's Bowman. That's Bowman. 84 speed, 60 run block. Anyone like, okay, we got a really good running back in the 4th round in Jerome Brown, normal dev though. You take that. That's a good player. All right, so those are the best players in the class. It was like the highest of like the terrible players. Like there's a 61 taken in the 3rd round by the Titans. Big oofs. 63 in the 3rd round. Let's take a look at our division. We are in the North. So Bengals went ahead and got themselves a tackle. Luke Flanagan, 74, hidden dev. Honestly, that's like a fiend approved tackle selection right there. Not super fast, but I hate when people, I'm gonna see that stupid superstar dev at a tackle that I could have had. Oh, all right. So Bengals dub draft already, easy. 72 star and a 74 superstar. That's dubs. That's dubs. And then a pass coverage linebacker. Doesn't have any speed on him though. Oh, that's makes me want to hit things. We already know Clemens superstar. Dude, why is our division so good at drafting, bro? Get out of here. Start out. So both we've seen a 70 plus superstar and a 70 plus star in the first 2 rounds for both of these guys. See if the Ravens followed suit. They did have the worst draft capital from everyone, so if they had the worst draft, then you got to kind of accept it. Rainey, they did get hidden dev 73 though. Tier defensive lineman. They got some aging pieces there, star dev. So if everything goes to plan, then Marcellus Jackson is a superstar dev still in play. Still in play. They have Najee Harris. I don't know why they're Jackson Marcellus Jackson. He started. So the streak is broken. Nobody had a bad draft though. I question what this pick's actual value is, despite that he has some speed on him. But for the first time really in I think the history of expansion draft only, like one of the guys that I really wanted ended up not going here. I always make it work. I always make my game plan work in this series, and we got sniped by the MF and Jaguars, man. These freaking Jaguars. Oh, Elliott Banks, Bulls legend. So, time to go through the preseason. If we have any scenarios, I'll show them to you. If we have any key cuts, I'll show them to you. If not, I'll kind of assign some mentors, and we'll get ready for week 1 of next year. Got a pretty good blocking fullback in free agency here in Owen Hopkins, who's a rookie. So 70 overall, blocking fullback. We'll sign him to the squad. Our first mentor here will be for the quarterback position. Got to get Quincy Miles up as soon as we can. Our second offensive mentor will be at wide receiver for Ray Coleman and Johnny Lovelock in particular. Our final offensive mentor will be at the center position, hoping to get Taylor Ramirez up to 85 overall and get that second superstar ability. Going to sign Anthony Hitchens for mentor at middle linebacker, hoping to boost Jelani Graves. What a name. So happy with that pick. Also bringing back Darquez Denard from last year. We have 3 corners with star plus development, and they all still need help in that development. Brent Urban will be the last of the defensive mentors and mentors in general, hoping to aid in the development of Sidney Watkins. Since we have the coach tree points, we will be revealing a hidden development trait for one player. It's a player that I happen to already know his development. If you didn't know, if you draft an X Factor, they will show as X Factor in the little weekly training things. Not, I think, their best system, but turns out Ray Coleman is an X Factor. Here we are, week 1. Unfortunately, no preseason scenarios. That's always no fun, but overall, I would count this offseason as a pretty fun one. Ended up being more offensively focused than I thought going into it, but I think we did a really good job making that offense better. Let's preview the team. Again, if you guys think we should, I would consider trading for Elliott Banks using all the 2 picks that we got from the Packers trade. I don't know how I feel about that, but I'd be willing to consider it if you guys think it would be a good idea. But I don't know if it would take away from the draft only experience, so I'm leaning no. But if you guys think we should do it, I could be convinced. That's all I'm going to say. But this is what the depth chart looks like. The amount of normal dev starters we have on this team is dwindling rapidly. Of course, we actually added one on offense with Steinbach, who will start over Bowman. I think his long-term upside, I think his ability as a blocker makes him the better player. From day 1, Coleman will be our wide receiver 2. Saw that he has X Factor. That's pretty nutty. He doesn't have it activated, so we might have to lower him to superstar and then give him back up to X Factor or something like that. But got a 99 hit power linebacker who's pretty raw, but hopefully he can develop very quickly. We're doing everything we can to make sure he develops quickly, right, with the mentor, focus player, having him start, throwing him to the Wolves. I don't know if this is a playoff team caliber team this year. I want to try for it, but I think this is the kind of team where we can let a young player come in and kind of baptism by fire, if you will. Got some upgrades here. This will get Danny Goodrich up to 85 overall as long as he gets an overall upgrade here with slot, and he does. Gets +4 man coverage is a massive boost. Probably should work a little bit more on that zone, but looking like a really good man cover corner for year 3. I'll work on those abilities maybe off camera. Ramirez, kind of just want to get these guys. I know he can maybe use agile a little bit more. Just want to get these guys up to, 85 overall that have superstar, +1 speed. Maybe a little bit of reward for jipping me out on Elliott Banks. But yeah, I think that was kind of it for the starters that had an upgrade point. How close is Jelani? He's got to have a pretty low bar to cross. Yeah, he needs 2600 XP. He's almost already got it. He'll get it before we play our first game. So pretty exciting there. But I think this team is ready for year 3. How do you guys think we did with our third offseason? Is this a team that's going to push for playoffs this year? Back-to-back seasons 5 and 12 to start. Can we get up to 9 and 8? Maybe at least get in the playoff race. Time will tell. Looking like a pretty hot start going against the Bengals in week 1 to start season 3. That episode will be coming out soon, and I will see you then.